Welcome to Offensive 6 channel. Today I will be doing a pre-match analysis of the Manchester United and Chelsea match. If you've got your coffee ready, let's jump into the video. As you know, Erik ten Hag has been sacked. As a result, Ruud will temporarily be the head coach of Manchester United against Chelsea. I believe it is unfortunate for Chelsea that ten Hag's dismissal coincided with the match against them. This is because Ruud's style of play can only be understood by looking at the last match Manchester played against Leicester City, where Ruud was in charge. Therefore, Chelsea's analysts have only one match to determine what kind of tactics Ruud will deploy. For this reason, they must base their analysis on that match. In situations like this, where teams have recently changed their head coach, they often find themselves in an advantageous position against their opponents. While it seems that Chelsea has a clear tactical plan, the situation is uncertain for Manchester. I believe this coaching change will be beneficial for Manchester United. The Manchester team views this match as a comeback match. Therefore, this match will be of vital importance for Manchester. Before moving on to the expected starting 11, let's take a look at the significant statistics that both teams have accumulated over the first 9 weeks. First, let's start with the points table and see where both teams stand after 9 weeks. At the end of these 9 weeks, Chelsea is in 5th place with a total of 17 points, while Manchester United is in 14th place with 11 points. This statistic reflects Manchester's worst points performance after the first 9 weeks in its history. In other words, Manchester United has never had a worse start in the Premier League. Therefore, as I mentioned earlier, this match is crucial for Manchester United in this regard. Another significant statistic is that Chelsea has not beaten Manchester at Old Trafford since 2013. Manchester will have extra motivation to ensure this statistic is not broken. Looking at the expected goals statistics, Chelsea has produced 2.08 xG per match, while the Reds have produced 1.69 xG per match. The Blues have scored an average of 2.1 goals per match, whereas the Reds have managed to score only 0.9 goals per match. While Chelsea's expected goals closely match their actual goals, it is hard to say the same for the Reds. When we look at the XG difference, the Reds are the worst in the league with negative 0.79 XG per match. So far, Chelsea has scored 12 out of their 19 goals from open play, while the Reds have scored 5 out of their 8 goals from open play. Chelsea has scored 2 goals from set pieces, while this number is 3 for Manchester. In other words, the Reds have found nearly half of their goals from set pieces. When we examine the shots taken per match, this number is 13.9 for the Blues and 14.4 for the Reds. In terms of accurate shots on target, both teams average 5.6 shots per match. Looking at where these shots are taken from, the Blues take 4 of their 13.9 shots from outside the penalty area, while the Reds take 5.7 shots from outside the box. This statistic indicates that Chelsea takes more dangerous shots. Chelsea averages 55% possession per match, while this rate is 53% for Manchester. The Blues complete 508 passes per match, whereas the Reds complete 504 passes. The Blues have a passing accuracy of 86%, while Manchester's is at 85%. Regarding long passes, the Blues have an average of 18 accurate long passes per match, while this number is 16 for the Reds. In terms of long pass accuracy, the Blues operate at 54%, while the Reds achieve 51%. In the attacking third, the Blues make an average of 103 passes with a success rate of 76%, while the Reds make 97 passes with a success rate of 74%. In the build-up phase of the game, both teams present very similar statistics. Finally, let's look at defensive actions before moving on to the expected starting 11s. The Blues concede an average of 1.55 xG per match, while the Reds concede 1.75 xG. Both teams have conceded a total of 11 goals so far. The Blues see an average of 12 shots against them per match, while this number is 11 for the Reds. The Blues have faced 5 accurate shots out of the 12 they have conceded, while for Manchester, this figure is at 3.3. Now that we have looked at the important statistics, we can move on to the expected starting 11s. I expect Manchester to line up with the following 11: Onana in goal, Diogo Dalot at right back, De Ligt and Martinez as centre-backs, and Mazraoui at left-back. In midfield, Ugarte will play as an 8 and Casemiro will play as a 6. Rashford will be on the right wing, Bruno Fernandes at the number 10 position, Garnacho on the left wing, and Rasmus Højlund as the striker. Looking at the Leicester City match, we can see that one of Ruud's most noticeable differences in gameplay is the high pressing. While Ten Hag preferred more zonal marking, we observed that Van Nistelrooy played with a high press in this match. Therefore, I think Manchester will also play with a high press against Chelsea. During the Leicester match, when Manchester had the ball, they lined up in a 3-2-4-1 formation. The 3+2 setup that Chelsea uses in their build-up is also employed by Manchester. The player to watch here will be Dalot. We will see Onana frequently passing long balls to Dalot during the match. In the build-up phase, Dalot positions himself like a right winger, while Rashford plays more inward. We can understand this better by looking at Manchester's average positions in the Leicester match. From here, we can clearly see how much Rashford moves inward. Another noteworthy point is Joshua Zirkzee's average position. We saw Joshua Zirkzee often dropping back to distribute the ball during the match. In fact, Van Nistelrooy used him well for the link-up play. However, I do not expect Højlund to play in such a deep position in the Chelsea match. If we only switch the positions of Højlund and Bruno Fernandes, I believe we will see a similar average position in the Chelsea match. Now let's move on to the expected 11 for the Chelsea match. In goal, Sanchez will play. I think Reece James will play as right back this week. As you may recall, last week Maresca played Reece James at left back. However, I think he will use him at his natural position, right back, this week. After Gusto came off last week, Reece James played well after moving to right back. In fact, the reason for playing Reece James is not because he performs better than Gusto. Enzo Maresca thinks there is a lack of leadership in the team and is trying to address this issue through Reece James. For this reason, I expect Reece James to play as right back this week. In defense, I predict Fofana and Colwill, with Cucurella at left back, Caicedo in the 6 role, Lavia in the 8 role, Madueke on the right wing, Palmer at the number 10 position, Pedro Neto on the left wing, and Jackson as the striker. As I explained in my previous videos, Enzo Maresca uses Gusto either as a wingback or as one of the players in the advanced 4, but since I do not expect him to play in this match, I anticipate Cucurella will take on this role. However, in the upcoming weeks, as Reece James gains form, Enzo Maresca will assign this role to him. This is because this role requires a high level of tempo and physical quality. I believe it will take some time for Reece James to reach this level. When Chelsea has the ball, they will line up in a 3-2-4-1 formation and will build the game from the right side rather than the left this time, unlike last week. Last week, they tried to build the play from the left because Palmer was on that side. However, this week, since Palmer will play on the right wing, they will build from the right side. As we know, Chelsea has been playing with a high man-to-man press in most of their matches. I don't think this will change in this match. Chelsea will again play with a high press. On the other hand, I believe that Manchester will play with a high and man-to-man press in this match, unlike during the Ten Hag era. Therefore, I predict that the match will be dynamic and full of chances. Manchester's high pressing style has both advantages and disadvantages for Chelsea. We have seen in recent weeks that Chelsea performs really well against teams that press them high. The real problem for Chelsea has been against teams that employ zonal marking, with the Liverpool match being a prime example. Liverpool won that match by implementing zonal marking against Chelsea. Last week, Chelsea took 3 points from Newcastle, who executed high man-to-man pressing almost perfectly without much trouble. As I mentioned, Chelsea does well against teams that press high. So what is the reason for this? I can highlight 2 players in this regard. The first is Palmer and the second is Jackson. Palmer positions himself near the touchline or drops back to receive passes and plays long balls to advance the team. The other player is Jackson. When Palmer is tightly marked, he drops back to his own half to play the link-up game. He did this very well against Newcastle. We already explained this situation in that video. Let's take a listen if you'd like. Another player I want to highlight is Jackson, Aside from scoring a goal, his play was truly impressive, particularly his link-up play. Looking at his average position, he played more like a midfielder than a forward. These are the touch points for Jackson during his 78 minutes on the field. Throughout the match, Jackson touched the ball 22 times, with half of those touches, or 11, coming in his own half. Achieving this is really not easy, especially for a striker. Jackson is really doing a great job this year. In addition to his finishing, he has also improved his teamwork significantly. In the 9 matches he has played in the Premier League this season, he has scored 6 goals and provided 3 assists, directly contributing to 9 goals. However, it would be unfair to evaluate Jackson solely based on his goal contributions. One aspect of Jackson that I admire the most this season is his pressing in the attacking area. He is truly one of the rare forwards in the world who can do this right now. He doesn't know what fatigue is, he knows exactly when and how to initiate the press. In summary, this week's match will be important and challenging for both teams. I hope we enjoy an extremely entertaining match.